All right, everyone. I'm here with War 10. It is a rematch against Agent Graphite, and BG1 has Protect for the global. I will be going in with Human Torch, Quake, and G99. I'll have Path 3 in Section 1, a middle mini-boss. Path 1 in Section 2, two mini-bosses on Boss Island. And then I'm on Mojo boss duty with Human Torch. All right, so Path 3, Section 1, only this Guardian here. Nothing special about the node. It's aggressive armor up, so it's a passive armor up, but it doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and ramp up G99 here for the Apoco mini-boss on Polka Dot Power / Stun Reflection, because she's a great counter there. So nothing special about this fight. All we're looking to do is constantly bait SP1. I am just going to go ahead and block the beams so that I don't get tagged by any point during the beams, either at the beginning or the end, just because this SP1 does have a chance to power drain you. And what would really suck here is if we're near the end of the fight and I don't have SP3 because of that SP1. So it's just safer to bait it out and go ahead and block the beams every time, because the next two hits are very simple to dodge. So that's all you're going to see, me pushing him just shy of 2 bars, maybe even just pushing him just over 1 bar of power, baiting out SP1, blocking the beams, sometimes I parry them, and then dodging the next 2 hits. Rinse and repeat. And we're just waiting to get him down to that 5% range where we can drop this SP3 and ramp up G99. I'm sure a ranked 3 6-star would take a lot longer here, but it's no worry with the 5-minute timer. It's a pretty straightforward and easy fight, especially since we're not planning on throwing any specials with G99, which Guardian can auto block those if his armor up is active. So really safe fight for Gilly. And you see I dodged one there accidentally. I was just trying to make space and bait one out, and he threw it anyways. I believe I do get tagged by one near the end. I was a little worried I was going to get power drained, but luckily it didn't happen. So there it is. So would not have been the end of the world, but probably would have had to take a bunch of blocked hits just to get that power back and hopefully drop an SP3. But we're getting close to that 5% window. I think this is the last combo, and we're going to throw it, and there we go. So ramping up Gilly, hitting the challenge perfect, even though we don't need it. And now she's ramped. So path 1 done. Moving on to this Tigra on strike counter, Fury. You might have noticed during the Guardian fight that I had Resonate spec'd. It's for this fight, and I knew my fights didn't have willpower from the other fights other alliance mates have been taking. So I knew it wouldn't give her any extra power. Even if it did with Human Torch, it was going to reverse it in the first place. But the weakness is going to be helpful because it'll, if it's on her, it'll prevent her specials from being unblockable. So really helps for this fight. But with strike counter, the usual. Heavy, medium light, light, medium light, throw a special so that we can keep those Fury counts down as much as possible. I did have Mac place a Mr. Fantastic Petrify so that the start of this fight was a lot smoother in case there was Max MD, but she went down so quick, so no real worry there. Moving right along to this Manthing on Power Snack, I am going to Quake and Bake it. We do have a White Magneto pre-fight, so I can build more charges when I do the parry stun. And you guys have seen me do this before. He was a little tricky there at the corner, and I didn't want to trigger Dex, so I just went ahead and took the hits. But it's not going to be a worry, because from that point on, he's not going to do any damage to me outside of the blocked hits. So easy Quake and Bake for me. He is quite the tanky defender. He has I think he has almost 310k health on this node as a rank 3. So as soon as we hit that backup recovery and it gains more health. We know it's going to take a good bit longer. I believe it takes 2.5 minutes for a Quake and Bake. Maybe because I have the white Magneto pre-fight, it might actually end in 2 minutes. But still, options to speed this up would be to throw on Suicides, but of course, you're going to take a little more damage than you would like. So be ready to use items. Moving right along to this rank 2 Symbiote Supreme. I am going to take this with Human Torch without the pre-fight. And this fight is not going to last very long at all. No real game plan here besides don't really trigger Dex, which isn't going to be a problem since his power gain is really passive. So it's really easy to just get him to the wall and just abuse him before he gets his first bar of power. So parry, medium light, parry, heavy. Do whatever you need to back him up and try to avoid triggering Dex in case they do have max MD. But you'll see he's just melting. It's a hard counter. And down he goes in less than 30 seconds. All right, moving on to this Immortal Abomination. Now we had planned on taking this with Warlock, but we found out he doesn't have willpower, which makes it much easier to Quake. Because then you're not battling the willpower heal back, which does take forever. And then if you accidentally drop the heavy and he heals the full, even once, I'm pretty sure you're pretty screwed as far as trying to get him down unless it was really early in the fight. So we decided to Quake and Shake it. Take a little bit of the Lionheart degen at the start. That's just from the 3 poisons he has on him and the fact that I have max despair. But once we get through that, that's pretty much the only damage you're going to take as long as you do a perfect Quake and Shake. And we're holding on to that Dex buff, making sure that we count our combos and we watch and hear his animations so that we don't drop this heavy and give him that buffet health. And down he goes, a little over 1.5 minutes, so it was a good call. Now, I am going to take this Dr. Doom, and I am going to full-on Quake and Bake, and we do have a white Magneto pre-fight. And the tricky part about Quake and Bake Doom, like straight bake, not wait for double concussion and trigger buffet, is that he doesn't have quite the range to push you back at the start if you just do Quake and Bake. But I actually get him to the wall fine. It's just here I went ahead and took a combo because for some reason what I don't do is during the double concussion is just let her evade until it falls off and then pick back up. I never do that. I usually go through my rotation, and for some reason I did there, and it messed up on what needed to be next when the concussion fell. But we survived. Next up is this Longshot on the Vigorous Assault mini. This mini boss node is most of the time pretty useless. I was actually kind of hyping myself up for this fight because I was worried about max MD. But the game plan was to parry heavy twice to get him to the wall, kind of, sort of, and build temp. And then switch to parry medium light, bait out SP1 and try to not trigger Dex during it, but block SP1 as well. So that we don't trigger more Dex in case we do drop the buff. But you'll see here, he doesn't seem to have, let's get this SP1 out, blocked it. He doesn't seem to have max MD. It's probably at 1 or 2 if it's there. So I'm just building temp, and I think I only triggered dexterity twice or 3 times during this fight. He just melts, so I hyped myself up really for nothing, which I figured. Human Torch versus a lot of the Mystics, he just melts them. It just straight melts them. But I mean, it's okay to worry, because usually power gain's the issue with Mystics, and Human Torch can't do much about that besides hurt them with the power sting. And down he goes, so it was nice and easy. All right, so this mini boss node I used to take a lot, and I think this is only the 2nd or 3rd time this season that I've taken Stun Reflection, but we're going to use G99 ramped up, and usually when I take a Paco as the boss with G99, I want Guardian because the block damage is a lot. Well, the health here is like half the health, so there's not really a worry at all about block damage, so I don't need Guardian for it here. So the game plan is the same as the boss, except that we're never going to parry at any point during this fight because we don't want to get stunned and lose our combo. But it's basically block, beta heavy, combo him to a full combo if he's below a bar when you finish it. Combo to 4 and then immediately block instead of dash back when he's above a bar if we don't want him throwing a special quite yet. And I like pushing him just shy of 2 bars, baiting out SP1, and then dodging the last blast of the SP1. And that's pretty much it. Rinse and repeat. Now I could have thrown SP2 here, maybe sped it up a little bit. The only thing I was thinking about is that I've used G99 ramped up as a option for Mojo. In fact, I think the first rank 2 Mojo boss I took was with a G99 ramp. So I thought, let's go ahead and re-soul up on this Apaco since we don't need the SP2 damage to finish him. Just in case Human Torch doesn't go too well against Mojo. That way I have a backup boss option. So that's where my head was at. The degen gives G99 power through polka dot power, so it counts. And it's good to see that I didn't need a power start 1 to get to that SP3. And he throws this here and stops just perfectly at 4%, so guess what's coming, Apaco? And we re-ramped Gilly. So, smooth fight. You can see that block damage is pretty insignificant. It's not worth bringing Guardian for. It's also not worth trying to dodge specials outside of that last beam, so pretty safe fight. And here we are again with another Mojo boss. This is the 8th boss, 6th Mojo boss this season, just this season. So, usual game plan, full combos into block or not into block to push him to his wall. Block and bait out a heavy when we can. You'll see here, it was a little slow, but I made it. And then kind of the same timing here, he parried me. And then he did 3 hits, and I was almost at 50% health. So a little bit of panic, but I was actually more so pissed off that it happened. So it's time to focus up. His prompts start working out for him, so we're at 3. So now he's power gaining anytime I activate a prop. But luckily he's throwing SP1. Coming up, I think the 4th prompt works out. Yep, dash back in his favor. So there it is. So now he's going to be at 2 bars. I blocked the SP2, luckily threw it immediately and I saw it coming. Dodging those heavies and retaliating perfectly so that we don't get parried again. Hold block, perfect. So now, this was one that we could possibly make fail. I dodged the first part of that SP1 so that I could get out early. Throws 3 here, but I'm able to dodge out in the middle, and good. We're back down to 1. Luckily, throw special was the 2nd prompt, but we're sitting pretty. We don't have to worry about hater buffs and taking degen, so just keeping our cool. He was at 2%, 3%, 2%, and I just let it rip. Bye-bye, Mojo. So, despite that parry and the combos at the start, it was just get pissed off and focus up. So, another Mojo solo, and I got my redemption. This was the Mojo boss I died to in War 3. So BG1 actually donutted this war. We didn't have any deaths, which was awesome. But as an alliance, we died 4 times, and it is our 3rd tie, so our 4th loss. It was really disappointing, especially with how well BG1 has been doing. I don't think we've had more than 2 deaths a war, and this is our 4th war without any deaths. So our top 3 hopes are pretty much crushed. It would take a miracle with matchups, and we'd have to win out the next 2. But yeah, now we're just looking at hopefully a Masters finish. I think we need 1 war win to stay in Masters. So interesting season. Good thing the map might be changing next season. Thanks for stopping by and watching. Hit subscribe and follow me on Twitter to keep an eye out for the next one.